Hi, welcome back to the Staying Healthy and Preventing COVID-19 Infection During the Current Pandemic. This is video number 22. So here we're going to discuss about what is ACE2 receptor and what are its functions. Remember that ACE2 receptor is one COVID-19 attached and enable it to get inside the human cells. So, ACE2 is an enzyme that usually attaches to the lung alveolar cells and gastrointestinal tract cells as well as in all mucosal cells. So it is a membrane receptor, but a soluble version of the ACE2 is also circulate in the blood. So in addition, ACE2 is an essential part, play an essential role in blood pressure homeostasis, so as several other physiologic functions. Unfortunately, it's the same receptor COVID-19 and other coronaviruses used to sneak into human cells. So how does COVID-19 disrupt the reninangiotensin system, hormonal system? Because in the previous video we discussed that following binding of COVID to ACE2, it virtually totally disrupt the renin-angiotensin hormonal system. In addition to entering into the cell, it also downregulate the synthesis of ACE2 through chemical means and thereby reduce its availability. The why it's doing is not certain. Maybe it trying to restrict more or new COVID-19 entering the same cell to prevent the competition, I guess. This lead to uncontrolled elevation of angiotensin 2, which is a very potent vasoconstrictor. In other words, blood vessels constrict and thereby reduce the blood supply to critical organs as well as increase the pressure in the systemic hypertension as well as a pulmonary hypertension in the lungs. So let's look at the role of ACE2 in COVID infection. ACE2, as we discussed, is a part of the RAS or renin-angiotensin hormonal system, increased activity, but it also reduce the COVID-19 viral loads. Because as we discussed before, soluble ACE2 in the blood can neutralize the circulating viruses and preventing them reaching the target cells. So ACE2 gene is interestingly located in the chromosome X. So female has 2 X chromosome, therefore they have more protective levels of ACE2 than males. So this could be one of the key reasons why females are less affected with the COVID-19 infection, and in fact the death rates of males are almost twice of females. So vitamin D is an endocrine suppressor for the renin-angiotensin system. It has a major role in keeping the renin-angiotensin system under control. It regulates the entire system, not one step, starting with the reduction of the expression and availability of the enzyme renin, thereby reducing the production of angiotensin 1 from angiotensinogen. So the opposite is hypovitaminosis D, increase renin and therefore produce excess angiotensin 2 and less ACE2 receptors. This causes pulmonary hypertension and tendency to have acute lung diseases, which can lead to chronic lung diseases like asthma and chronic obstructive airways disease. Lung injuries due to any cause is known to reduce the ACE2 level. So whereas vitamin D normalizes ACE concentration. So reverse basically re-establish the homeostasis. So as per last discussion, ACE2 circulate in the blood, which is a soluble ACE receptor, can tightly bind to COVID-19 viruses. So once it bound to the COVID, it basically cannot attack human cells. Neither it can reproduce, because to replicate viruses, it need to be inside a human cells. Now the blood is extravascular tissue and they cannot reproduce in circulation. So interestingly, currently there are experiments going on in U.S. to see the effectiveness of recombinant ACE2 in humans. Hopefully these studies, data of these studies will be available within the next few weeks, and we know whether then ACE2, recombinant ACE2 can be used as a therapeutic agent to neutralize COVID-19, at least in the intensive care setups. The reduced bioavailability of the functional ACE2 receptor following binding of the COVID-19 increases markedly angiotensin 2 and prevent its cleavage into peptide 1 to 7, or the smaller peptide of angiotensin 2, which is a protective peptide. The effect of this short peptide are exactly the opposite of angiotensin 2. It dilates blood vessels and prevents pulmonary disorders. Particularly, it reduces or it prevents pulmonary hypertension developing. Moreover, ACE2 and COVID-19 attachment is tight enough, and it cannot, the virus cannot escape that, and eventually it will be destroyed by macrophages and other cells. So, therefore, contrary to some recent publication and the comments made in the internet, the upregulation of the ACE2 in the body will mitigate the effects of COVID-19. It's not enhance the activity of COVID-19. Nevertheless, the effects of the angiotensin converting enzyme ACE remain controversial, although ACE and angiotensin receptor binding ARBs will actually reduce the level of angiotensin 2. Theoretically, it should actually help the situation. All evidence suggests that irrespective of the living location or the color of the skin, raising the serum 25-hydroxy concentration prophylactically with supplements or daily exposure to summer-like sunlight, as we discussed in the previous video, markedly reduce the incidence and the severity of COVID-19 and other respiratory viral diseases. Now you're aware of not only about the vitamin D effects, and also how COVID-19 entering into the human cells, and nevertheless how vitamin D actually prevent its propagation, multiplication, and in fact prevent the complication by suppressing the renin-angiotensin system. So next video will address the cause of death related to COVID-19 based on the preliminary information we discussed in the previous 3 slides related to ACE2. Till then, thank you for participating, and don't hesitate to come back on the next video. Thank you.